point of view from the topic that we're talking about, why it affected me the way that it affected me. And that's because of the voices in my head.
Well, and it's crazy because, you know, it's one of the things is why is it important to fight imposter syndrome? And it says it can stifle the potential for growth and meaning by preventing people from pursuing new opportunities for growth at work, in relationships, and around their hobbies. Confronting imposter syndrome can help people continue to grow and thrive. And I think if I look at all the things, all the times I didn't take that risk, that leap of faith, that step, it's always because I was afraid of what would happen if I failed.
Well, not only that.
Or it's not my personality. People say that's not your personality. People say this and this and this and this. And so all that negative, and you know what's crazy? There's a guy, Gary Vee, right? I follow him, and he talks about this. Like, snap out of your shell. Get out of your shell. Stop being afraid. You're going to fail. You may look dumb as shit the first 5 times you put something on Instagram yourself, this and that. I'm still, even though I know I should do it, I still don't do it. Because there's always that feeling. And it's like sometimes, and then you get and then when you know that, you get frustrated yourself, and you're like, see, this is why you'll never succeed, or right? So you not only do you beat yourself up, but all those negative things in the back of your head that people put in there for a whole generation, are also going to come up. And I always used to think, like, you know, you talk to people that don't believe in, like, God, right? So that means they don't believe in the devil. But isn't it amazing how every time you're about to get a blessing, shit shows up at your doorstep?
Yep.
So, what do you equate that to? Just life, the yin and the yang. Like, yeah, you're gonna have great. So you're gonna have well that shit that shows up in your doorstep. Either shows up right before you're supposed to get a blessing, or right after.
Yep.
And it ruins it. And what are you gonna remember about that blessing?
You shouldn't have it in the first place.
Either that, or you're gonna remember what went wrong.
Yep.
Right. And I always say to myself, like, I don't know if this analogy makes sense, but I always say, like, I was talking to my kids one day, and I said, do you believe in miracles? And they were like, well, there's not that many out there right now. Look at all the negative stuff. And so I said, hey, you know, every time a tree grows, it's a miracle. Every time a baby's born, it's a miracle. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, so, you know, a tree drops 500 acorns, right? You know, give or take a year. I don't know the exact, you know, I'll research it for those people that need to know the exact thing.
You're not out there counting them as they
Or you can just Google it yourself.
Yeah.
But, like, let's just say conservatively 150 acorns a year. So you live in the same place for 15 years. Look at how many trees grew in that place. And I guarantee you may find 1 or 2 at the most, right? Right? It's because the acorn has to drop at a perfect moment in a perfect space that has the perfect amount of sunlight, protection, and water. Right? A baby's born. Now, you mean to tell me you only had sex once? It's just it. Right? Now, as a kid, when you look at your parents, you're like, it better be once. Right? But once you get to be a little bit more grown, you realize it's not just once. Right? So you mean to tell me, out of a course of a lifetime, the person and their significant other have been together 20 years and they only got 1 or 2 kids? Because it had to happen in a perfect moment, in a perfect time. That's a miracle to me.
Yep.
Right? That's a miracle.
Yep, it is.
But yet, we're so fixated on the miracles being like, I turn, you know, 5 loaves of bread and a couple fish into feeding 500.
Or water into wine.
Or water into, yeah. Like, but the thing about it is what people don't realize is that the miracle's not in, you know, like, shit, if I had the Powerball, that'd be a miracle.
Yeah.
But if that's the miracle I'm searching for, it's never going to happen. So if I'm focused on that so much, what happens to those miracles that happen every day that I should be?
You miss out on the small stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because me and my wife was just having that conversation when we was coming home from church on Sunday because Pastor was preaching about faith and everything like that. We tend to put our faith, we focus so much on how we want our faith to work instead of just having faith, period, because then we miss all the little miracles that you're talking about.
Yeah. And so this is where that listening to the voices in your head can go wrong, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, Gucci Mane had a song. Gucci Mane, I'm sorry. He had a song called "I'm My Own Worst Enemy," and this is really the only song I listen. No disrespect to him, it's just, you know, the only real song I listen by him still today, and because it made sense. You are your own worst enemy.
Well, even think about Scarface's song, "My Mind Playing Tricks on Me."
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that because the next podcast we're gonna talk about Hip Hop 50. So that's but this was a podcast born out of the frustrations that we've been going through.
Yes, sir.
And you just had to get a new car, a newer car for your wife. And it's like my car. Listen, everybody out there that's listening, whether you're a kid or you're 80 years old, you're already a father and your kids are grown. Everybody can understand this concept. The voices in your head will play tricks on you. They'll mess you up.
Yes, they will.
And if you listen to them long enough, and you're not around other people that can sharpen you up and go snap you out of it, that's the danger. Because I know the worst place for me to be is in my bed at 12 o'clock when everybody else in the house is asleep. Because now my mind's racing. I'm trying to think about all the things I have to do tomorrow. I'm thinking about all the things that happened before that I shouldn't have done. Or you shouldn't have bought those sneakers because now look at this shit.
Exactly.
Right? And so all you're doing is beating yourself down. And guess what you're not paying attention to? The present.
Yep.
And so whether it's going to church, whether it's praying, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, which is just praying anyways, you got to clear your mind. And that's one thing still to this day. I'm about to be 45 years old. My mind is racing more than ever because you see the failures of your past decisions in the presentness of what your kids need.
And you're trying not to make those mistakes again.
So I don't know if I can say that more perfectly than I just said it.
Exactly.
But you do. You see the failures of your past decisions in the eyes of the kids that you are raising that need you. Because when they need something that you can't obtain, and I know this as a female, talking about my wife, I know she says similar things. And as a male, we're always taught, especially our generation, that you have to take care of everything. When you have to tell your kid, I don't know, or I'll try to figure it out. That's a dangerous place to be as a parent.
Yes, it is.
And I'll tell you why. Because you are going to do whatever you can to provide that for your child, including screw up shit that you can't mess up.
Yep.
And I've been there and done that, and I know my parents have been there and done that, because the one thing as a parent you never want to do is make your child feel the same way their parents made them feel, or your parents made you feel when they couldn't come through for you.
Yep.
And in doing that, sometimes you overload a false equivalent of what being a parent is. Right? Because think about it. If you're missing something there's a hole in your heart from your childhood, you are going to do by any means necessary. Your kid doesn't have that.
hole in their heart.
But that by any means necessary can actually ruin things. And it's not until I got to be an adult and my kids are older that I realized that some of the stuff that I did, I should have told them no.
I think that goes back to something we talked about before with a lot of parents being their friends instead of parents.
Yeah.
I think that comes from that too, because like you said, you don't want your kids to feel the pain or hurt that you going through your child. And sometimes I'm coming to the realization that sometimes they have to.
Yeah.
They have to make them, to help them be productive, to maybe light a fire in them or whatever it may be. We can't be there all the time to be the rescuer. Like I had a conversation with my wife just before I left to come through here, where my son is going through up in school and everything like that. And she's like, well, I want to send an email to this person. There's nothing bad, don't get me wrong. I want to send an email to this person. I'm like, no, he's got to figure it out. And along the way, yeah, he may get hurt. He may get his feelings hurt. He may get let down. But he may have to experience that sometimes.
Yeah, he has to.
He has to experience that sometimes in order to make him, to have that fire, to become more productive. We can't always be there to a point that, they're rescuer all the time. My son said something to me last week.
Enabling. You can't enable them.
My son said something to me last week where he was like, he was hurt by some of his friends and everything like that. And he's like, if something happens to you and mom, where am I going to get that unconditional love from? Where am I going to get that feeling? I said, dude, you're going to be okay. I said, because you're in God's hands. That's the first thing. I said, the second thing is, I said, you can't, we're always going to be here for you, but we're preparing you for the day that we're not going to be here. That's the stage we're at right now. And he said, but I don't like having that talk. Dude, we have to have that talk, because there's a day that God is going to call us home at some point and everything like that. And I want to know the bottom of my heart that you're going to be okay. You're
Yeah.
going to be okay and everything. And sometimes in order for me to get comfortable with him being okay and everything, I can't be that, like you said, that enabler, that rescuer all the time. Sometimes they have to go through hurt and pain. Sometimes they have to listen to those voices. But the thing is, you can't listen to the voices where they are detrimental to your own growth. And you have to know how to see what's good and see what's not good. And I think a lot of times the way what I came up in and maybe what you came up in and everything, we was never taught that. Because we was always taught, especially when somebody that we respected, if they say something, then it must be true.
Yeah.
It must be true. Like, I'm going to give you a classic example. I mean, one time I told my mother one of my dreams and everything. And she said to me, what makes you think you can do that? What makes you think you can do that? And I was like, and I didn't have an answer, and I was a kid.
Yeah, sowing that seed of doubt is the same as sowing that seed of faith, right?
Exactly.
Eventually it's going to grow. And
the conversation we were having before we even started the podcast and everything, today's podcast, I thought back to that moment. You know what I'm saying? How far would I have been instead of saying, what makes you think you can do that, to when me and my son had that same conversation? I think I said to him when he said, Dad, I can't do that. I said, why can't you?
Yeah.
Why not you?
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing. Why not you? Like I think
I forgot who said that. It was an athlete that said that. It was Russell Westbrook. He said that one time when somebody says, "Who do you think you want to average triple double? Why not me? Why can't I not average a triple double?"
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And that's something when he said that, I make sure I drill that in my son's head to this day that I have to calm him down on his swagger sometimes. To a point. I mean, one time it was a football game last year, and I was like, and he pissed me off. Not because he played bad, but how he was taunting the other team. And I was like, I knew where that came from because the swag and the confidence as he has out there on the football field and everything. And I was like, dude, you got to learn how to tone that down. But he said, Dad, you know, all my life, he said, outside of you and a few coaches that I've had, nobody's ever given me my props. So I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna swing my swagger all over the place right now. And I said, okay, dude, I get what you're saying, but remember, football's a violent sport. The other team can set you up to get hurt. So tone it down a little bit. He's like, I will, but he said, but just let me live right now. But that was a good thing to see because the seeds that we planted in him. Why not you? Why can't you not be successful? Why don't listen to those voices in your head? You know what I'm saying? Mom and me's going to put you in a position to be successful. What you do with it is dependent upon you, but don't ever think that you can't do something. The only time you should, unless you gave it a try and God Almighty has told you that, no, this is not for you, keep going.
And here's the thing, you know, the voice in your head, the voices in your head will play a trick on you in the negative sense, and the voices in your head will also play a trick on you to make you believe that you're better than what you are at the moment, and you don't have to put in more work.
Yep.
Right, so the idea that a young kid is going through the process of trying to figure out what that happy medium of celebrating versus showing up, right? Like that's one thing that I'm big on when I'm coaching my kids is we're gonna win with dignity and we're gonna win with humility. Humility doesn't mean don't celebrate.
Exactly.
Humility doesn't mean don't protect your teammates. Humility doesn't mean, you know, when somebody runs their mouth, you don't give them an extra 20%. What humility means is that, like, I'm not gonna bear when I dunk on you. All I have to do is give you the look
and keep it moving
because that's what I should do.
It's funny you say
right?
that.
It's almost like I told somebody one time. I said, listen. Told these kids one time. I said, listen. Sometimes you walk on the basketball court and you see the other team and their athleticism and what they're doing, and you get nervous. Right?
VA just popped in my mind. But go ahead.
And I said, if LeBron James came in right now and said, play me to 10, I'm going to check that ball. In my mind, I'm checking that ball knowing I can win. In reality, I know damn well he should beat me 10-0.
Yep.
Because that man is the best basketball player on the planet still to this day, right? That's in the league. We're not going to get into that conversation.
Okay, that's
right?
another podcast.
But I told the kids my mindset isn't checking the ball and being nervous. My mindset isn't checking the ball and going, I don't know what to do. I have a set of skills. Right? I'm going to sound like Liam Neeson from I have a set of skills. I know what I can and can't do. I'm not going to try to. I know that even though he's strong and he's more athletic, I still can. I could still take a bang in the post. No, nonsense, right? Like I could still. Let's go. You want to, right? But I'm not gonna go out on the on the on the perimeter and get up